Hey everybody, this is JDGaming back today after a very long, unexpectedly extended hiatus. Long story short, I was on vacation with my family for the month of May. I visited Korea, so I got to explore the OCG quite a bit, which I'll be sharing with you guys. But shortly after my return, I ended up getting sick, which combined with jet lag just isn't a good combination for making videos. So in the meantime, I organized a bunch of the stuff, and then I also picked up a new microphone that I'm using right now. So hopefully you see a positive difference. You can let me know any feedback you have down below. But I am feeling much better now, so we're going to go through basically this second OCG haul, much like I did last year, except this time you can see there is a lot more stuff going on here. Let's get rid of that glare. So yeah, I'm just going to go through some of the highlights, compare the differences between TCG and OCG, and hopefully you guys get a little bit out of this if you've never seen this game outside of the North American or even just TCG territory. So the first thing that you guys may have noticed right off the bat is that the booster boxes look totally different between the two different regions. So obviously I don't have a TCG box on me at the moment, but if you see some of my other videos where I open boxes, I want to say they're roughly this big, kind of rectangular, about maybe an inch to an inch and a half high. So it's less brick-like than the OCG boxes. This is, of course, the Korean version, but the Japanese OCG does pretty much the same thing where they have this type of a shape. And I can't speak for Japan's prices, but I know in Korea these are 501 a piece for the pack, the booster pack inside, which roughly is about 50 cents a pack. So that's completely different from the TCGs, like $4 in North America. And I think that really just comes to the perception of society as to how profitable a trading card game can be and just the expectations you see. Like if you compare Yu-Gi-Oh prices, Yu-Gi-Oh pack prices to like Pokemon or Magic or whatever, you'll see that the prices are similar even though they are at a higher point than you see in the OCG. So perhaps it's just what Konami and a lot of these other companies are thinking will be something that works in that region. Anyway, going back to the box, these are different. In our TCG boxes, we have usually 24 booster packs with 9 cards apiece. Always a rare, and nowadays they've even added a foil in every single pack. In these OCG boxes, you get 5 cards per pack. You're not guaranteed a rare technically, but generally in a box you have like a handful of packs that'll have no rare. Most of the time, the ratios are fairly similar as they are in the TCG. And then you have 40 packs in one box. So it would be 40 packs that are 20 cents a piece. And each of these in Korea retails for about $20 US dollars, which is pretty neat. Another thing is if you go to like your local E-Mart, which is essentially a giant Walmart, basically local grocery stores and places that sell cards will sell them sealed, like this, sealed boxes. You could see like they have this perforation, but they don't break the boxes. It's all shrink wrapped, and you get the 40 packs for the $20 instead of buying individual booster packs in stores. Then if you go to a card shop like I ended up going to for some singles, you'll end up picking up like individual packs. They'll break this open just like you would see at your stores, your local stores. You'd see something more like this where it's opened up, and then they'd have individual booster packs for you to purchase for the individual MSRP price per pack. The next thing you will notice that's different about the OCG is that the back itself is different right there, as you can see. In the corner we have Yu-Hwang, which is Yu-Gi-Oh! Written in Korean. In the Japanese OCG, you actually have Yu-Gi-Oh! Written in Japanese as well. And then, of course, in our TCG, we have the classic back that we are used to. And that's part of the reason why these territories have rules that say, like in the TCG, you can't use OCG cards. It's because this would be visible through most sleeves. And technically speaking, the game is designed so that even without sleeves, you shouldn't be able to tell what type of cards you're playing with. And that's really like the major thing in terms of like practicality, why you can't play OCG cards in TCG. My theory on that is basically when you have the OCG territories gaining the cards first because they have the packs released first, it really would make a huge impact on the market here if you could get different versions and different rarities for the TCG that you wouldn't have to here. Basically, it goes back to that idea that you want to be able to make the TCG successful in, North America or in Europe or wherever. You have to have different selling ideas that match that country or that area's people's ideals, or I guess perceptions of what a product for a TCG should cost. And so when you go back to it, it's really so that the individual markets can stay separated and that the companies can earn money in each of the regions based on what people are expecting and willing and able to pay. As for the actual cards, this is a holographic rare. It's quite different from a ghost rare in that you could see the image of the card when blanked isn't completely blank, which is a lot more similar to the old style ghost rares that we had in the TCG. This here is the Enlightenment Paladin from the Breakers of Shadow, and you can see while this angle is quite similar to our ghost rares, we have kind of like this faded image, and then of course this is just like the mirror plane as well. This is the ghost rare equivalent from our TCG. Here then we have a secret rare version. You can see the secret rare is more like the prismatic secret rare that we got in old video game promos, as well as the World Superstars promo, or not promo, but like the mini set just a little while ago. Then that same card comes in ultimate rare. You could see the ultimate rares are very similar, except the entire card itself on all of these OCG cards has kind of this glossy coat on front and back, and as a result of that, you can see the ultimate kind of reflects even with dim light here, as you can see on the edges. And finally, of course, we have our standard ultra rare version of the card that we are used to. Still, you might be able to pick up, it's kind of hard to on the camera, but you might be able to see just a little bit of the gloss that is on the card. It's also kind of hard with that very bright light there. But here you can see 4 variations of rarity on the same card. And as I mentioned before, we have a bunch of different rarities for a lot of the cards. If you think about it, the OCG does make these cards first, so it's not really that they're changing from the TCG. So the TCG decides to change them based on its expectations of what people will find popular and what people will end up buying the sets for. Here we have a gorgeous playset of Solemn Warning, but you'll notice, or not Solemn Warning, Solemn Strike. You'll notice one of them is a secret rare and the other 2 are supers. And the reason for that is a lot of the OCG cards that would end up being secret end up being a super rare first, and then they have an alternative printing as a secret rare. So pretty much if you pull a secret rare, it is actually a secret rarity, and that it's not even supposed to always come in that version. You'll see here, if I could just zoom in for a second, you'll see Bosch for Breakers of Shadow 79 on both of those cards, but you end up with the different rarities despite that. So little different thing that we don't see in the TCG. We typically don't have tons of rarities other than, as I showed you, kind of like the ghost rare might come in a couple other rarities. Actual cards that just come in the base set end up changing rarity like this as well. And that also dictates the value on the cards. For the OCG, we already discussed slightly for Korea's OCG. You have the slightly lower pricing of the box, well, much lower pricing of the box, $20 a box. So then you have the Super Solemns will be about $12 roughly USD, and then this secret is somewhere around 24. If you're unlucky, you might find them anywhere up to like 36, so like 2 to 3 times as much. So the secrets are much cooler in the sense that they're not always given in any set, which makes them really neat. This was actually one of the things that I pulled myself, which I thought was really cool. These I ended up just pulling for, or like buying as singles, but I still think they're pretty cool because if you're looking for proxies for things, what better thing than actual cards, even if you can't play them in tournaments, you have the other versions that you can practice with and just have fun with. And I think this is pretty cool to see the various rarities. There are some other differences in the OCG as well. One minor one that I've noticed is the new creation of first edition. That term did not used to exist, but if you look here at this Dante, you will see that it says first edition in the corner, much like we would see in the TCG, even though first edition and like editions of cards never was a thing in the OCG, even just up to a couple years ago, which I thought was pretty cool that they decided to add that in. Also, you can see here it says EP15. Maybe you can't see it, but if you look it up, you can verify that as well. EP means extra pack, which is this thing here. I don't have the unbroken box, unfortunately. This is what I picked it up like at a card shop. But you could see here some of the extra packs that they have here will bring in the TCG exclusive cards that we've gotten here, and bring them back overseas to Japan and Korea so that they can play. So like here's, for instance, a Burning Abyss deck core that I was able to put together. Like you have different rarities for some of the foils. You have a Skarm that's a super rare without being an astral pack. You have some alternate rarities like Rubik here. It's a cool thing to see all these cards in different rarities. There's a Malakota, and they have all these other archetypes in here as well. So like you might see this thing. This number 81 is in this extra pack. We have Ultimate Athletes in here. We have just some random things that you might have not known comes in this pack. Like this is from our US 5Ds Legendary Collection. You have things from World Superstars, because the exclusives in Japan and Korea don't always line up. They actually keep them exclusive from each other. And as a result, they can bring the other region's territory cards up to like their own special extra pack, and so each year they'll import everything all at once and then have this special kind of promo premium pack type thing that they make available to their players. So I thought this was really cool being able to see this in stores. Retail price on this thing was like 1,001 a pack, which is about $1 a pack. I ended up finding some places that sold them for half that though, for about 500, which is pretty cool. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess it just varies a bit depending on where you end up going. But extra pack is a special thing that they don't have in the TCG. And then finally, last thing I wanted to go over real quickly is just an even more minor thing. It's different names for some of the sets. Here we have Cross Souls, but here it's in OCG it's actually called Crossover Souls. Very minor change, but they do change the title sometimes. Duelist Alliance was called the Duelist Advent in OCG. And then we have Secrets of Eternity is actually called the Secrets of Evolution. Why they make these changes, I'm not exactly sure, especially because you end up with pretty much the exact same set abbreviation, CROS and SECE, DUEA for Duelist Alliance or Advent. So I'm not exactly sure why they do it. It's probably just Konami's idea of regionalizing things here so that maybe it flows off the tongue better. Maybe they think it'll feel a little more natural, but they do sometimes make changes to the set names as well. And last but certainly not least, we have a very quick overview of some of my personal favorites from this trip. So we have, of course, the Burning Abyss monsters like Dante. We have the Solemn Strikes in both rarities, which was really cool. Cyber Dragon Infinity, which comes in either Ultra or Secret. I ended up picking up the Ultra, both because that was the only version the store had, but also because it's kind of cool seeing the card in a rarity that we don't see over here in the TCG. We have also some Arrow Mages. We have Bergamot and Kananga in the same rarities as TCG, but then we have a Super Jasmine and a common Rosemary. We have Brilliant Fusion is a very vivid common card in the Clash of Rebellions set. We have a full set of that. We have some Twin Twisters that are rares as well. As for what I'm personally going to do, some of these like more expensive things that I'm using for casual decks, for instance, Cyber Dragon Infinity and Cyber Dragons, I'll just be using this as a proxy for some of the deck profiles that you'll see in the near future. Expensive things like Solemn Strike, realistically, I'm just going to use the strikes because I don't see myself competing in any major tournaments over the summer, so it's just going to be how it is. But I don't know. I think I'll still probably I'll be playing the TCG for the most part. For everything else, I'll still be doing everything else normally on the channel. But this is just like a set of souvenirs I thought was really cool that I really enjoyed picking up while I was overseas. So hopefully you guys enjoyed all of this as well. And there you have it. That's a quick crash course into exactly what we have going on overseas in OCG land, the basic set structure, some of the minor and major differences in the set compositions and the actual production of the cards. Down in the comments, I'd like to hear your thoughts on what you think is the coolest or lamest thing that's different between the different regions, as well as what you thought of seeing the cards in another language. And yeah, it's great to be back. Hope you guys enjoyed this first video that I've put together for you guys. This is JD Gaming, and I'll see you guys next time.